You're in the mood for mystery, Corrigan?
Oh, I'm so in the mood for a mystery. You have
You're
no
in the mood
idea.
for mystery? How about you,
Yeah.
listeners?
Mm.
Are you in the mood for a mystery today?
I hope everyone just Dora the Explorer that. It's like,
Mark.
yeah, yes,
something to make you scratch your head, something to make you ponder, something to make you think, the fuck? Because if you're in the mood for a mystery, if the answer is yes, then won't you please come with me to January 1935?
Okay.
All right. Come with me to Kansas City, in fact, on January the 2nd, 1935, when...
Not going to find my black ass in Kansas City in 1935, but I'll come with you.
Is that right? Would that not have been the most chilled of environments for you, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Well, hey, the hotel president in Kansas City, when a man checks in, a guy by the name of... a guy who gives his name as Robert T. Owen. Okay, this guy was born in Florida in 1915. Pretty unremarkable, other than the fact that, and this has no relevance, but a childhood accident with some hot oil, cooking oil, left him with a burnt patch above one of his ears. Yeah, almost in a similar way to how I've got a skull.
Yeah, you've got some kinship with old Bobby Owen.
Indeed. But let me tell you something. Robert Owen wasn't his real name. That was for reasons known only to himself and reasons that he took to his grave. He checked in under a false name. The guy was really called Artemus Ogletree, believe it or not. I know.
Maybe Artemus Ogletree was the real name.
Yeah, indeed. Artemus Ogletree checks in.
Incredible.
He is basically smartly dressed. He wears a dark overcoat. He has no luggage. And he pays just for one night.
Sure.
Pays for one night only, with a specific request. He asked very specifically and very pointedly for a room facing away from the street. And that's what he was given. He was given a room facing into the internal courtyard and was led to his room by the bellboy, who showed him his room. Guy by the name of Randolph Probst, showed him to his room and watched him simply take out a hairbrush from his pocket, some toothpaste, a comb, and put them on the shelf above the sink.
Toothbrush.
No, 3 items.
Wait,
a hairbrush, what were the items? And a hairbrush and a comb and some toothpaste.
Just no toothbrush. That's I don't know why I'm so hung up on that, but go on.
What is worth the thing to take away from here is that he had nothing with him, no luggage, nothing at all. Now, things start to get weird almost straight away. Later on, the maid comes up, a lady by the name of Mary Soptic, comes to clean the room. Note in, shades were drawn. The room was illuminated by a single lamp. And she later said to the police that he seemed, quote, either worried or afraid of something. While she was cleaning the room, Ogletree leaves the room, leaves her to carry on cleaning, instructs her specifically, please leave the door unlocked because I'm expecting guests. Okay. Yeah. Later on that afternoon, she comes back to the room with some towels. She enters the room thinking there's no one there. Mary was very alarmed to find Artemus in the room, lying silently, stilly on his bed, fully clothed, eyes fixed straight at the ceiling.
Okay.
The door is ajar, leaves some light flooding into the room, and she notices a handwritten note propped up on his bedside table that read, Don, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait. She leaves in silence, thinking he's focused on something intense or drunk or whatever. Let's fast forward to the next morning, all right? Mary returns to clean the room again, noting strangely that the room was locked from the outside. You can only lock that door from the outside. She lets herself in, finds the room once again completely in darkness apart from the single lamp, shades drawn. Artemus in the room is sat at the desk speaking on the telephone, right? She tells the police. She hears him talking to a character called Don. No, Don, he says, I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast. No, I'm not hungry. While she's busying herself cleaning the room, Artemus makes small talk with her, asking pointedly, was she responsible for cleaning the entire floor? She leaves. She returns again a little bit later on that afternoon. And this time, from the outside, she hears 2 men talking. A voice that wasn't Ogletree's after she knocks on the door. A voice that wasn't his calls out, "Who is it?" She says she's brought some towels up. The voice replied, "We don't need any, leave." She knows that was bullshit because she's been in there earlier on. There are no towels in the room,
Right.
but the angry voice dismisses her. Now, 2 hours later on, we're in the evening now. A lady checks into the room opposite, directly opposite, a Jean Owen, knackered after a day's shopping in Kansas City.
So same last name?
Same last name as his pseudonym, interestingly.
Right.
Beautifully noticed. Jean hears in the small hours what sounds like an argument between at least two people and maybe a woman in Ogletree's room. Okay. Now, this is where we dial up the weirdometer.
It's already very weird. I'm feeling like oddly anxious about
I know, and so you should, because it's fucked. Because in the early morning, right, early the next morning, around 7 a.m., Ogletree had asked for a wake-up call. The front desk tried to make that wake-up call, but they find the phone in 1046 is off the hook.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. The morning clerk sends up the bellboy. It's Probst again, sends him up to check it out, right? The do not disturb sign hangs on the door. He knocks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. He knocks again. After a while, a voice inside says, "Come in and turn on the lights."
Okay.
Probst can't go in because the door's locked. He hasn't got a key.
Right.
So he just calls in, "Can you hang the phone up, please?" and leaves. Later on that morning, an hour and a half later, 8:30, the phone is still off the hook. So Pike, another bellboy, goes up with a key, lets himself in to find Ogletree, naked, lying on the bed, still. Assuming he's drunk, Pike puts the phone back on the hook and leaves. Once again at 10:30,
Okay.
Once again, later on that morning, we find the operator downstairs noted the phone was again off the hook, so up goes Probst. The do not disturb light is still on, but he's brought his key this time, so lets himself in, and he finds Artemus on the floor, on his knees and elbows, 2 feet away from the door, on the floor, blood all over his head.
Oh.
Probst turns on the lights, blood over the walls.
Oh, Jesus.
In the main room and in the bathroom, as well as over the bed, blood spurting, blood spatter everywhere over the walls, okay? Obviously, the kid shits it.
Yeah.
Runs downstairs to get help, and he comes back immediately with his superior, the assistant manager. This time, they can't open the door because Artemus has fallen, tried to get up and fallen against the door, blocking it closed. Some shouting, some remonstration. Artemus finally gets himself up and goes to sit on the corner of the bath, allowing these two men to enter. They call the cops. They arrive later with a doctor from the nearby Kansas City hospital to find Artemus sat on the corner of the bath, bound by the wrists to his neck and bound by the ankles. Okay? His neck is covered in bruises, indicating somebody has tried to strangle him. He has an open stab wound to his chest.
Oh my God.
An open fracture wound to the right side of his skull. Blood spatter visible across the ceiling of the bath.
My God.
But there's no one else in the room.
And this happened there was 2 hours between hanging up the phone and finding him like this.
The doctor cuts him free. They ask, "Who's done this to you? Who's done this to you?" His reply, simply, "Nobody."
What?
They ask him again how he's been injured. Do you know what he said? He said he'd fallen and hit his head on the bathtub. Seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Artemus loses consciousness, dies shortly after arriving in hospital in the early hours.
Bro.
Okay. What a weird fucking story.
Extremely.
It gets weirder. It gets weirder.
God, how can it get weirder?
It gets weirder, right?
Okay, go on.
After the police searched the room, there were no clothes anywhere in the closet, in the drawers, anywhere. No clothing at all.
The clothing he had been wearing is gone.
Also gone. Soap, shampoo, the towels, everything had been cleaned out. No weapons, no knives, nothing to explain the stab wounds. Generally, you get like tumblers in a room, glasses to drink from. Yeah. One of them was found missing a shard of glass missing from one of the hotel tumblers. Some other bits were in the room as well. An unsmoked cigarette, a hairpin, a safety pin, and a full bottle of diluted sulfuric acid.
Sulfuric acid?
Yep, in the room. There were fingerprints, okay? Small fingerprints that very possibly from a woman were found on the room's telephone. No, didn't match any of the hotel employees. Didn't match Ogletree. Didn't match anyone.
I was going to ask. I was like, are we at the point where we're doing fingerprinting? Because initially the thought process, obviously there's no DNA, so I'm like, okay, I guess they just took everything because their fingerprints were on it. But then when you leave stuff like, a cup and stuff like that in there, it clearly wasn't about that.
So investigations obviously ongoing. Witnesses say that the guy had booked into 3 separate other hotels in Kansas City in the days before the incident. For short stays, right?
Yeah.
A guy matching his description with that scar had been seen with another unidentified man. A worker in the city, a city worker, right, claimed that a guy matching that description had mistakenly tried to book him as a taxi after approaching him late one night while just wearing a t-shirt and underwear. The resting place of his body, right? The funeral home he was being kept at was publicized as part of the investigation. An anonymous caller rang the funeral home and asked if they would delay the funeral and would they allow Artemus to be buried at a particular cemetery so, quote, he could be near his sister.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The caller was quite forthcoming with the funeral director, said that he'd been killed by a lover and his fiancée together when they both found he'd been cheating.
No.
Yeah. Never proven, however, never proven.
Yeah.
An anonymous package of money was sent to the funeral home to cover the burial. And anonymous further donations were made specifically for flowers for the funeral.
What?
Yeah. One of the donations had a card simply saying, "Love forever, Louise."
Wow. That is fascinating. Because
the mystery of Artemus Ogletree.
And it's like, I mean, that makes sense, right? If you watch a lot of things like Criminal Minds and other procedurals like that talk about like the psychology of murderers and things like that, the idea that people do things like send flowers or whatever is like often a sign of remorse, right? That you did something you felt bad about and you did this. And the idea that somehow like people knew this guy got himself into shit with these ladies and they teamed up.
Hell hath no fury.
Right. Like it's
that explanation isn't remotely proven, by the way. That was an anonymous phone call after a publicized case in the papers, you know. But I'll tell you what,
but you found small fingerprints.
Yeah, very true, very true. A woman's voice here in remonstration. So never proven, never disproven. The mystery, the mysterious, uncanny death of Artemus Ogletree.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And of course, extremely frustrating. I hate cold cases, but at the same time,
let's solve it. Let's do it.
That's the thing is I'm like, solve this shit. It's so hard. It's amazing that those kinds of things at that point could happen. You know, it's very hard to have like a super unsolved mystery now because people leave trails. You know, we have social media and all this kind of stuff. There are very few people who there's like nothing you could piece together to make sense of it. It does happen. I mean, did you watch the Netflix reboot of Unsolved Mysteries?
I saw the first one.
Was that the
guy
one
who
with the
vanished
guy
from a fucking window?
Yeah, like the roof one, and it's like his shoes were on the right, and it's like it's a total mystery, you know,
an unsolved mystery, if you will.
Unsolved mystery. All the pieces seem like you should be able to figure this out, but it just doesn't make sense, and nobody can piece together what happened here.
We should Michelle McNamara this one.
Right. I mean, I wonder if there's a Reddit dedicated to this, a subreddit, because that's off like with the Unsolved Mysteries. There's a subreddit and people try to figure this shit out and they find all this stuff, you know. And that was the same with Michelle McNamara. Like she had, I think sure. It was either a subreddit or it was like some other forum that she had, and people were, you know, writing in their theories about the Iran's killer. And you know, putting things together that way. So I don't know, maybe it's time to solve this. I want every weird little thing like this.
Drag this case into the light.
Drag it into the light. It's not so far back that like we have no records, you know.
Yeah, indeed.
Someone must know.
I think that might be my horror fetish, in fact.
My favorite genre of horror movie is boats.
Oh, I found a feather in my garden today. Must have been an angel.
I almost punched a little kid at Kamikaze who was dressed as a zombie because it scared the shit out of me.
CoRri,
Exactly.
movies are too goddamn long, right?
1 hour and 28 minutes is a perfect movie.
This is it. This is for me now. I'm a lifer. I'm fucking in.